So, when you think of an animated movie that focuses around a robot, what comes to mind? WALL-E? Big Hero 6? The Iron Giant? Well, I have something for you. Have you heard of this animated movie that was released back in 2021 titled Ron's Gone Wrong? I'm sure some of you have heard of this movie before, right? A movie about a malfunctioning robot named Ron who just basically lost all memory on how to be a safe and secure robot for his child. Kind of reminds me of another movie now that I think about it. It was made by a new animation studio at the time called Locksmith Animation, and this was their first movie that they've released. I'm aware that they made another movie titled That Christmas, which I haven't watched yet, but I've sort of heard some mixed things about it. Now, I remember actually liking this movie back when it came out. I thought the concept was simple yet very charming, and I did had a fun time watching it, but rewatching it now, let's just say that this movie doesn't really hold up all that well, and it's just sort of been forgotten about. And I honestly don't blame them, because I feel like what this movie was trying to achieve just doesn't really resonate with a lot of people. So today, I'm going to talk about the movie as a whole and to see if it still holds up and see if I would recommend checking it out. So if you don't want to get spoiled by this movie, then turn off this video and go watch the movie ahead. And if you don't care enough, then I'm going to spoil the movie for you. Before I start, the reason I'm talking about this movie specifically was because this was the first movie that I reviewed on this channel. And honestly, I don't even remember what I said in that video. Anyways, without further ado, let's talk about this movie again. So the movie starts with this guy named Mark who creates these robots called the B-Bots, which are basically what we're gonna have in the future someday. But in the movie, they're just basically an iPhone, but are just implanted in these robots. He gave this presentation about how these robots will help children and have fun in a fun and new way to make friends. I want to point this out, which I did point out in my original video. The CEO Mark guy is literally just the same character from the CEO in The Mitchells vs. the Machines, which came out the same year as this movie. And his name is also named Mark, and they both look similar too. You see the resemblance here, right? Or is it just me? Anyways, we are now introduced to our main character named Barney, voiced by Jack Dylan Grazer, and I think that Jack Dylan Grazer does a great job voicing this character, and it gives a lot of personality from his performance. Anyways, he passes his way through school seeing all of these kids with their B-Bots, and for some reason I like how this movie opened. Maybe it's the song choice, which is an original song from this movie called New Friends. I don't know, I just like how it opens with that. Personally, I like when movies open with some sort of music choice depending on what the music is, and also depending if it fits with the mood and tone of the movie, and I can't deny that this one fits sort of well. Anyways, from this opening sequence, we already see some of the B-Bots skins have some familiar character movie references from other movies, which sort of feels out of place for me. Usually I don't mind pop culture references in movies, but if they overdo it, then I do have a problem with it, unlike some other animated movies.
You've obviously never been in an Olive Garden that's run out of breadsticks. Shut your fucking mouth!
But thankfully they don't overdo it with this movie, so I'll give it a pass. Anyways, Barney is your casual outcast character that doesn't have any friends, but also has current hobbies of some sort. He likes to collect rocks, and that's basically all I know of his character. Anyways, it's his birthday today in the movie, and the only thing that he could ask for is to have a B-Bot of his own. You know, so he can also make friends of his own with it, I assume. His dad and his grandma goes to the bubble store late at night so they can buy the B-Bot for Barney. And I gotta say that these two characters are the least interesting characters in the movie for me. I mean, the grandma was okay to some extent, but they don't really add much for the story and sort of just comic relief characters in my opinion. But they do have a decent enough relationship with Barney, so there's that. Anyways, Barney finally gets a B-Bot the next day and discovers that the B-Bot is like this.
Hi. Hello there.
Yeah, so apparently this B-Bot doesn't work properly like all the other ones do, and overall just seems like a drunk robot throughout the movie, and this is overall the main story of the movie, by the way. And these moments are actually one of my favorite parts of the movie. I like seeing Barney and Ron's dynamic as they're just having fun with each other and not using the robot in the way that everyone else is using it, but I can't deny that some of Ron's moments are a little annoying, but that's basically the point since that's his whole character in the movie. Anyways, Ron stumbles across these kids, which are the same kids that trolled him earlier in the movie thinking that he got a B-Bot from the mail. And then this happens.
Why did you hit me? 'Cause I don't like you, derp droid. I don't like you, derp droid.
Yeah, so Ron just goes and attacks these kids and after they assaulted them, and to be honest, this is just a fun scene to watch in my opinion, and it doesn't last long. I mean, it's not like I'm asking for more, it's just one scene that I can enjoy every time I watch it. We move on from the next scene that Barney and Ron have been caught by the police, and they send them back to the Apple store to have them destroyed, so that way Ron won't cause any harm to others. And then Barney finds out that his dad and his grandma brought the Bebop out of an alley after like 2 days of no one noticing. Like, does that place not have any security cameras? Anyways, they were gonna crush Ron. Barney saves him and then crushes another Bebop and pretending like they already crushed Ron, so that way Barney can keep him. And we also get this montage afterwards of Barney teaching Ron on what it means to be a friend. This is one of the highlights of the movie for me. Ron basically just reminds me of Baymax from Big Hero 6. Except Ron is more defective than Baymax. But I think Ron's defectiveness does carry the main story about what it means to be with your friends and that technology doesn't always need to be a part of your friendship. At least that's what I picked up from this movie. And if that is, I think they handled it well for the most part. Anyways, we go to our other subplot of the movie where the CEO of Bubble, Mark, and his assistant named Andrew, and it turns out that Andrew is just a version of Bob Iger in this movie and just wants the sake of selling these Bebots to just make money. But when they found out that one of their bots are defective, Andrew is like, yeah, we can't have these robots ruining our company. Even though Mark seems to be perfectly okay with the Bebot being defective, he said that this is what he imagined on how the Bebots should be around kids. It's to have fun. Okay, sure. Honestly, this Andrew guy is just a one-note villain. He isn't really much of an interesting character and overall just a narcissistic person that thinks that selling these robots boosts the company more money. Anyways, Barney doesn't take Ron to school for some reason, but Ron gets out anyways and goes into school without anyone noticing. Then Ron invites some random people to their school and just a lot of mayhem happens in this scene. The kids get a hold of Ron and then gets their Bebop to have the same code for them to have, then just chaos ensues. Then the scene ends with this.
It pooped me.
Yeah, this is the point of the movie where it sort of brought it down for me. Which, yeah, this movie is obviously targeted for a younger audience, but there's other animated movies that tone down this type of humor, which these types of jokes aren't really that funny in today's age, at least that's what I think. But the bottom line is that the humor in this movie didn't really work for me for the most part. But there are other scenes in the movie that do make me chuckle a bit, and that's about it. Anyways, Barney and Ron got kicked out of the school, and soon after that, they both ran away into the forest together. The part where they're in the forest together kinda drags on a bit, and that's another problem that I have with the movie. It feels like they tried to cram in as much stuff in here as possible, and it feels like a scene that was just added on after. Same goes with the ending too, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Anyways, they both don't last long in the forest, and the cold really got to Barney and couldn't breathe right. Oh yeah, Barney has asthma in the movie and has an inhaler. I don't know, thought I'd mention it. Anyways, Ron brings Barney and himself back to civilization, and then he dies. But don't worry, because later, Barney is in the hospital and Ron comes back to life. It turns out that Mark bought Barney's robot and just fixed it like normal, but that was a mistake, because Barney wants to keep the robot as it was. But then as that happens, the CEO of Mark guy somehow got replaced by his assistant Andrew behind his back. Okay, didn't know you can just replace a CEO that easily. And I don't even know if that's legal to just replace him like that. Anyways, we're now in the final act of the movie. Barney and his family go to the Bubble headquarters to find Ron's original code so that way Ron can be Ron again. They do a secret heist in the headquarters and Barney founds the server room. Honestly, this whole scene was just kinda boring and it kinda drags on a little too long, but I guess I do like how it ended at least. Anyways, Barney founds Ron's code and now Ron is back to being himself again. But then Ron has the idea that he wants to have every Bebop in the world to have the same code as him, which made me think that didn't earlier in the movie that doing that sort of backfired? Or maybe it's just something different, I honestly don't know. But doing so, he will disappear. Honestly, this ending wasn't bad. It made me feel something at least. Anyways, Barney decides to let Ron go and now his code is on every Bebop in the world. And then Andrew gets exposed and just leaves the stage. I mean, yeah, that's one way to get yourself fired. But now we cut to some time later, and now Barney has some friends of his own, which these side characters that we've seen very slightly throughout the movie. Oh yeah, these side characters didn't really add much to the story and are just very one-noted, but they're alright I guess. Not terrible, but they're whatever. So yeah, that's how the movie ends basically. So in conclusion of all of that, did this movie deserve to be forgotten? Well, to some extent, not really, because I know the people behind this put a lot of work into this movie, but as a result, it just doesn't really resonate with a lot of people. Well, I am one of the people who like this movie at least, and has been on my mind for a while. It just didn't really connect with a lot of people. But the movie is cute and it has some moments in it. But if you guys want, you can check this movie out and form your own opinion on what you think of this movie. Or if you don't want to watch it, then just watch The Mitchells vs. the Machines, which came out the same year as this movie. Or in fact, watch any other robot movie that is better than this. Anyways, that's my long overview of Ron's Gone Wrong. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe, and happy 3 years of this channel, which was another reason why I made this video, to celebrate my milestone on this channel. Hooray for me! Anyways, I'll see you all in whatever video I make next.